Oh, what's good, my man of society? It is your host with the most shadow log back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Now, it seems that some emails and messages have been leaked regarding the Epstein estate in regards to conversations and emails between Epstein, Maxwell, and that involved Donald Trump. So apparently, Donald Trump was aware of you know, what Epstein was up to, and apparently spent hours alone with some of Epstein's victims. This information has been released and obtained by, the Democrats, right? And has been now leaked, right? And it seems that Donald Trump is panicking. Not only is he panicking, but it seems like a bunch of Republicans have jumped on board to the Democrat side. So they're about to have voting in regards to unsealing all the Epstein documents, and it seems like about almost all the it seems like almost all the Republicans jump ship, right? It seems like they have jumped on board to releasing the Epstein files. Not all of them, but it seems like a good chunk of them have now said, "All right, yeah, I'm down to release the files." And the reason why is not because these individuals are actually good people and have actually want to do what's right, but they realize that that they're not going to be able to now hide this shit no more, right? So they just want to make sure that they're on the right side of things when it all blows up, right? Like, hey, don't forget that I also voted to release the files, so I'm a good guy, so don't forget that to everybody out there, so when it's time to vote, you already know that I'm your guy. They're pretty much trying to cover their asses because they already know this. They already know that he's in the files. Everybody knows that he's in the files. You know what I mean? But now that it's about to get released, they're like, oh shit, man. There's really no loyalty amongst that side. When you're surrounded by liars and con artists and con men and just the foulest of the foulest, there is no loyalty. There is no honor amongst them individuals. Once shit starts to come down, everyone starts to flip and jump ship. It always happens. Anytime you're dealing with bad behaviors, that always happens because individuals with bad behaviors just don't have no loyalty to them. You get what I'm saying? So it's not a big shock to see that he was aware that all of this was going on. Donald Trump was a crude businessman. All he cared about was himself. I don't know where people get this idea that he was some kind of individual who was fighting for justice and is just this kind-hearted individual, when everything in his life has shown the opposite of that kind of behavior. By his own very words, I don't have an age limit. Yeah, I used to walk into the clothing room when they weren't dressing. I was able to do that because it was my show. If she wasn't my daughter, I would date her. Like, how old are you? 9 years old. Oh, in a few years, she's gonna be able to be my wife. Like, what the hell kind of shit is that? This is all stuff that came out of this individual's mouth. You know what I mean? Grab them by the pussy. This individual has just always been this kind of individual. So for people to be like, oh, still in denial or a shock that this is coming out or a shock that he knew, like, come on, really? I mean, Epstein was grabbing his victims from his workspace. So you hire underage workers, which there's, I get it, there's kids that go to school that have jobs, part-time jobs, right? But instead of putting them as a cashier or somebody who goes and grabs like the golf balls or some shit like that, you're going to put them to be the masseuse, the people that do the massage. Out of all the places you could put these women, this is where you decided to put them at. Massaging these old-ass men. Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with that, huh? It's not weird at all. Like, come on, man. This guy has always been a perv like that. But it seems that finally now people are seeing like, oh shit, man, now this shit is starting to come out. I better jump ships. I mean, there was some Republicans that I could honestly say since the beginning have been telling Trump, nah, you got to release them files, And some of them I've been critical of, like Green, you know what I mean, for example. But I can't say that, hey, when it comes to this subject, she actually stood her ground and she actually, never folded. So I can at least give her that, even though she has said some crazy shit and she's been wild out there, right? I can at least say when it comes to this topic, she's actually stood her ground, and yeah, I can at least respect that, right? And several other Republicans that did the same, right? Um, Even though some were terrified, like the one from where was it? Alaska, Arkansas. Can't remember where it was, right? But she was actually scared. She said because she was scared of her party retaliating against her. That's why she voted for the big beautiful bill. Right? She said she knew it wasn't a good bill, but she was afraid. When you're afraid to actually speak the truth, that's alarming. But this is the kind of thing that Donald Trump was running right here, where people now were scared to actually voice their true opinions. So now Donald Trump is trying to distract, saying that the Democrats are on this whole witch hunt. But it's not, though, because it's not coming from the Democrats. It came from directly from the Epstein state that released these things. The Democrats had nothing to do with that. You know. So Trump has brought a new type of having no shame to politics, right? If you just keep saying that this is a hoax, it's made up, it's not true, even though there's fucking all kinds of evidence showing that it is true, but still being, having no shame and going on there and just, saying things is mind blowing, speechless, right? And it's crazy that there's people that actually still believe this individual, But now, when all of this comes out, I wonder what the people that are defending him are gonna say, right? That they don't care, that they truly don't care about who got, trafficked and stuff like that. That shows their true personalities, right? Like, damn, to see the kind of world we're living in with these individuals are just ruthless like that, right? Um, like you're protecting a pedophile. You know what I mean? And when you start protecting pedophiles now, like, how can you say that you're on the right side of things? But it looks like it's all starting to, close in and come down on him. He's starting to panic. You can tell. But we'll see where this story ends up. I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised to know that he knew about this. That's something I already knew, right? Like, oh, this individual definitely had to be involved, right? But what are your thoughts on the matter? Is it shocking to you guys? Leave in the comments, chat, we up.